This is Campus News, reporting the top stories from colleges and universities.
Next on Campus News.
Supply chain and staffing issues continue to affect dining centers at colleges and universities across the region. How local universities are dealing with the issues and what they hope to do to fix it.
Nurses continue to be challenged as the COVID-19 pandemic persists. How current nursing students at MSU Moorhead feel about graduating into the industry during a pandemic.
Cows, pigs, and sheep, oh my. What brought spectators to this barnyard bash and why it's been a year in the making.
A brand new weight room means a brand new attitude. How MSU Moorhead athletes are taking their training to the next level.
Good morning and welcome to Campus News. I'm Eric George.
And I'm Jenna Scott. Students on MSU Moorhead's campus may have noticed menus changing right before food service.
Reporter Jonathan Ness goes behind the scenes at MSU Moorhead's Dining Center to find out why.
Since the start of fall semester, supply shortages have been visible across MSU Moorhead. With signs and substitutions, the hard work of cafeteria employees is very clear. Behind the trays, Sodexo manages all dining at MSUM. Sodexo manager Deborah Nordgaard and head chef Sarah Stensland say how difficult it has been behind the scenes of the cafeteria.
We usually run around a 30% food cost, and it's creeping up to 50%. Some things are really bad, so not only shortages of what we can get, but then what we can get is really inflated.
Kesey employees have been struggling to find a vast array of items. Everything from cooking essentials like chicken to chickpeas for Kesey's house-made hummus have been difficult to find.
I had to cut back on a couple stations in resident dining. Retail has cut back as well, so we're just trying to still provide good quality meals with what we are able to get.
MSUM is not the only college experiencing these shortages. At North Dakota State University, staffing has been much more difficult than acquiring food. Director of Dining Services Katie Tarter says NDSU has resorted to extreme measures to fill their staffing shortages.
But we are looking at recruiting through the local high schools if we would like to hire high school age students to work in our dining centers.
NDSU is not alone in their staffing shortages.
We hire a lot of student employees, and without a lot of students on campus, it really lowers the pool. So we generally have about 110 student workers, and I think we have 45.
Shortages will continue to strain the cafeteria workers for the foreseeable future. With photographer Ayatikine, Jonathan Ness, Campus News.
MSU Moorhead is offering increased wages as an incentive for students to join the Sodexo team, with pay starting at $14 an hour. When you throw something out, do you trash it or do you recycle? Students' recycling efforts at MSUM could help the university win a badge for the website. Campus Race to Zero Waste is an annual competition that encourages colleges to be more aware about the waste they create. Ashley Majelke is a senior at MSU Moorhead, helping organize campus participation in the Zero Waste event.
It's just really trying to get people to be more cognizant of what they're doing with their bottles and their cans and their cardboard, making smart decisions and putting them in their recycling as opposed to in the trash.
MSUM currently ranks 46th out of 74 in the competition.
After months of interviews with potential candidates, Dr. David Cook will be NDSU's next president. Cook is currently the chancellor of the Office of Public Affairs and Economic Development at the University of Kansas. Cook says his experience serving in rural and vulnerable communities can complement NDSU's agricultural focus. Cook replaces Dean Brashani, who has been at the school since 2010. Cook will start as NDSU's president no later than July 1st. Just like any faculty member, student workers are a vital part of day-to-day college life.
Reporter Laura Hovland tells us about the change MSUM student workers could be facing when it comes to how much money they make.
In almost every building on MSU Moorhead's campus, you'll more than likely find a student worker. In recent months, with the pandemic, hourly wages for student workers has been a hot topic across Minnesota college campuses.
I think it's going to go up just because of everything that I've been hearing lately.
They're probably going to raise, there's been a lot of conversation about it, so I think so.
In late January, the MSU Moorhead Student Senate voted in favor of recommending an increase in the student worker minimum wage from $10.33 an hour to $14 an hour. Student body president Jessa Mueller explains why she thinks the wages should be raised.
$10.33 is just not enough money to pay for groceries and everyday necessities for students. So raising the wage will definitely help that situation and then make students able to afford to work on campus.
While student workers are in favor of a wage increase, some worry about the effects it will have on funding.
I feel like it might put a strain on the school's budget a little bit. Of course, raising all of the student workers' wages, it might maybe take some things away that we had before.
Mueller says that this concern has come up in conversations before.
I think that is going to be the biggest determinant on how high the wage gets raised. It seems like there's a consensus on campus that it does need to be raised, but it's just how much.
Some student workers feel that a wage increase would greatly affect them.
I don't save a lot of money at all, so if it gets raised, I will hopefully be able to save money to be able to put away to pay for college, because right now I'm not able to put away any money.
The suggestion to raise the student worker wages will more than likely come up in conversation more over the next few months. Students and faculty hope that the wage increase will be implemented by the beginning of the next school year. Until then, student workers will wait out the rest of the school year and hope for an impactful wage increase. With photographer Abby McKay, Laura Hovland, Campus News.
The raise to wages for student workers would not only come to MSU Moorhead, but for the entire Minnesota state system. For MSUM's campus, winter just doesn't seem to end, and that's led to late starts and class cancellations this semester. Since the beginning of the spring semester, MSUM has closed its campus 5 times due to weather, including 3 times in a row due to a blizzard in mid-February. The campus was closed over the weekend between the 18th and the 22nd. Despite the closures, essential workers on campus must show up regardless of weather cancellations.
It's been crazy. I never would have thought that the college would have been closed this many times due to weather. Like I said before, I was a student here and I don't remember it ever being closed because of weather.
Kopacek says even when campus is closed, maintenance workers make sure that buildings like Kesey Commons and the CMU stay open for students living on campus. The pandemic is causing a national nursing shortage, and the Fargo-Moorhead area is no exception.
Reporter Katie Bartnick visited the MSU Moorhead Nursing Department to see how future nurses feel about graduating during a pandemic.
The COVID-19 pandemic has led to many different changes across professions worldwide, but the nursing industry has been hit the hardest. With the shortage, it leaves nursing students like Savannah Richter anxious to enter the field.
A little bit nervous, honestly, knowing that we're really short-staffed and that things are kind of changing drastically in the healthcare world overall.
Associate Professor in the School of Nursing and Healthcare Leadership at MSUM, Jill Holmstrom, says that nurses are leaving the profession due to burnout, which has led the nursing program to adjust some of their teaching habits.
It's a high-stress job, and so resilience is a big part of it, teaching that to them, teaching them self-care.
Holmstrom says the School of Nursing and Healthcare Leadership is looking to emphasize the importance of self-care, not just in nursing, but campus-wide. A self-care room will soon open in Hagen Hall that will allow students to come in and de-stress, to get away from whatever is bothering them at the moment.
If we can teach them those self-care skills while they're on campus, that's something they'll be able to use the rest of their life.
MSUM's nursing program is not only about teaching self-care and resilience, it's also about preparing their students for the real world and getting them ready to step foot inside a hospital as soon as they leave the university.
They're going to need to transition from school to practice quicker than what they ever have before because they're needed out in the field.
Which leaves students like Richter ready to look after her future patients.
I worked as a nurse's assistant for a couple years, and I genuinely just really liked caring for other people and helping, and I'd like to continue helping and caring for people. And
Holmstrom says MSUM's numbers and applications for their program are looking really strong for next year, and they have faith in the nurses of our future. With photographer Brady Wacko, Katie Bartnick, Campus News.
The self-care room in Hagen Hall will feature an art mural painted by MSUM art students. A comment made about the Holocaust has sparked widespread backlash, bringing attention to the sensitive issue once again. Whoopi Goldberg of ABC's The View made the controversial comment claiming that the Holocaust was not about race, but rather about man's inhumanity to man. Backlash to this comment is bringing attention to the way the Holocaust is taught in classrooms. MSU Moorhead's assistant professor in the School of Teaching and Learning, Dr. David Kupferman, said there has been a trend in recent decades where it has been de-emphasized or not taught at all.
I think it should be emphasized because of the uniqueness in modern human history as to what that event meant, what it continues to mean, the symbolism that it continues to have for both good and ill.
Kupferman hopes his students at least have a basic understanding and he can continue to teach them the Holocaust. Rodents love to run wild, but at Concordia, lab students are hoping to catch and research them to see what makes them tick.
Reporter Matthew Stewart talked with lab students about why this is so important.
Concordia College is home to a research lab that allows students in the field to interact with two types of little mice that live in Moorhead's ecosystem, the deer mouse and white-footed mouse. To conduct the research, students catch them and other animals like squirrels for research. Kelly Lawrence has received a $600 grant from the Beta 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 Research Foundation for her continuing research. She says that she is happy that her work is not going unnoticed.
It's good to be able to get funding so we can continue our research, and I think it's just kind of fun to get the name out about the research and just kind of let people know what we're doing.
The main part of the research is to test the saliva of the mice for health and to determine the species. Cole Nowacki is another biomedical research student at Concordia, and he emphasizes what the research that he has been doing means to him and his major.
It definitely develops my paying attention to lab procedures and learning how to be very delicate, especially when you're learning how to micropipette. I'm okay with that whole hand coordination thing. I definitely could be better, but it's really developed my lab skills.
For Cole and Kelly, they simply want to advance their degrees while doing some interesting research, and this lab allows them to do that and more.
It's always good to know that there's enough funding and that we're going to be able to get supplies for a few more years and just kind of be able to continue with it.
As they continue their research, Cole and Kelly are grateful to their professor, Dr. Joseph Whitaker, for his continued support throughout. With photographer Nick Tabbitt, Matthew Stewart, Campus News.
Kelly was also given a $483 grant for her research from Sigma Zeta, a National Science and Mathematics Honor Society. The sounds of cows, pigs, and sheep filled the Shepherd Arena at North Dakota State University as people were excited to show off their award-winning animals. It's a day full of showmanship, photos, and public speaking. Reporter Gracie Jackson tells us why it takes an entire year to plan a show like this.
The Saddle and Sirloin Agriculture Club at NDSU are ready and excited to show off their animals to the public. Saddle and Sirloin President Trey Klein shares a little about the show.
More judged on the showman, so it's more based on a showmanship aspect of how a person shows their animal. It's really not based off of how the animal looks, it's more of how the person shows it and presents it.
An event this size doesn't happen overnight, and it takes a full year to plan for the show.
Planning pretty much starts next week for next year.
The day is also dedicated to celebrating the Little International Queen. This year, junior Hope Wilson was voted on by her peers and takes pride in the title of Queen.
We do a lot of publicity. That's what we're here for, get the word out, make sure everyone knows what's going on. It's, a really important job making sure everybody, like the public, knows we're here, when it starts, what's going on.
The club has many members who take on different positions, the most memorable ones being the Pooper Scoopers. They kept the day fun with skits and jokes for the whole arena to enjoy.
The title might not sound the most inviting, but they probably have the most fun here, even above the contestants, because they're just goofing around. They enjoy it, and they're both goobers, so.
They even had a boot scramble to fit in some fun before moving on to the final rounds of judging. With photographer Tyler Frame, Gracie Jackson, Campus News.
The Little International Show is just one of the many community events the club is a part of.
Percussion students at MSUM took their performance outside in cold winter weather, but they didn't just use drums to make their music. The percussion students gathered on MSUM's campus mall. Besides drums, the performers used ice to make their music. This is the first time the students played on ice this year because they practiced on wood blocks. Kenyon Williams is the professor of percussion. He said students improvised during their performance based on how the ice sounded.
Because you really have no idea what the sound is going to make until you hit it, because the ice is very unpredictable by its nature. So trying to tune it is pretty much impossible. So the students have to listen carefully to each other, listen to what the instrument itself is doing, and then react to that accordingly.
Williams says this was the third annual ice percussion performance. When the weekend rolls around, some students may go out to bars or parties to be with friends after a long week of studying. But at NDSU, I talked to some students who enjoyed their night without the hangover. NDSU students gathered late Friday night to have some fun and start off their weekend on the right foot. But students are ditching the bars for a night on campus and putting their energy into channeling their creative side. Students didn't have to venture far from their dorms to spend their evening painting. Aiden Hyatt is with Campus Attractions, the group that organized the paint night. He said this was a good alcohol alternative for students.
For kids who don't want to go out and partake in any of that, can come here and have like a safe space to do fun activities with people, and like they can meet new people that they want to, and it's a lot of fun.
For students like Jack Carpenter, staying in for the night and painting beats any night spent going out and drinking.
I guess I kind of got that out of my system, the drinking thing. So I kind of like to just relax now. You know, watch a movie, paint a masterpiece, if and when that may happen.
But instead of painting on their own, students could be guided by a professional artist. Laura Rongren is the owner of Creative Traveler FM. For 6 years, she has journeyed around Minnesota and North Dakota to help others channel their inner Bob Ross.
I love sharing art with people and showing them that anyone can do this. It's just a matter of knowing your basics, knowing your colors, knowing your shapes, and figuring out how to blend them all together.
Between creating their own masterpieces and getting free food,
And the nachos were not bad. It's a small amount of paint in there, but it's okay.
students explored their creative side and proved that you can still enjoy the college experience without the alcohol. Campus Attractions hosts events on 2 Friday nights a month to give students an alcohol alternative.
And now we turn it over to Jordan for a look at this week's sports.
Yeah, Jordan, I hear NEMSEC Hall is getting a facelift.
Yeah, there's a few rooms getting some updates. Minnesota State University Moorhead athletes work hard year-round, even off the court. An extreme makeover project lasting over 4 years in the making has now come to fruition in NEMSEC Hall. Reporter Josh Boyko went to see how the players are using the new space.
Oh yeah, super flexible.
Grunts of determination echo through NEMSEC Hall every day. That determination is the sound of Dragon athletes giving it their all to finish the extra rep in the weight room. However, getting on the grind was not always that easy for every Dragon athlete in years past. These athletes received luxury state-of-the-art equipment in a completely revamped weight room this fall.
It's been probably a 4 or 5 year process. The old strength coach, my predecessor, they started planning this. Like I said, 4 or 5 years ago, they kind of had a donation from Sanford to kickstart it.
Oh yeah.
This achievement called for celebration, and the student athletes were given a special treat this fall.
Yeah, so they had a big grand opening for all the athletes, and a lot of people came in, got to see everything, got to test it out if they wanted.
The athletes noticed right away some big changes from what they had been accustomed to.
Everything's more clean and very organized. The last weight room seemed to be just kind of stuff put here and there, and this is very organized.
Student athletes had a variety of favorite features from the new space.
It's got to be the pull-up bars.
The biggest upgrade is just how much more space we have. I mean, the turf is awesome over there for warm-ups and sprinting, but it's just way bigger.
With a higher level of equipment in the room, there comes with it a higher expectation of performance on the court and the field.
Well, I hope we're performing at a higher level, which we will be just because of the equipment that we have and how we set it all up.
Coach Herkenoff believes that the state-of-the-art equipment will attract more new student athletes in the future. With photographer Brian Stenberg, Josh Boyko, Campus News.
This new space took over $58,000 of online funding before MSUM could break ground in September. Construction on the project finished in October. MSUM track and field picked up 5 individual championships this week. On day 1 of competition, Nadir Youssef won the 5,000-meter run, making it his 6th career NSIC individual track title in 14 minutes and 18.17 seconds. Chiron Kemp won the men's long jump for the 4th NSIC title of his career, clearing a jump of 24 3/4 inches. On day 2, Chiron Kemp added another conference title to his resume, winning the triple jump with a mark of 51 feet. Braxton Brewer won the first NSIC title of his career with a school record in the 800 meters. He won with a time of 1 minute and 52.76 seconds. And Travis Joseph won the high jump with a mark of 6 feet 11 inches, also his first NSIC championship. MSU Moorhead's men's basketball are NSIC tournament championship. For the first time ever, they beat the University of Minnesota Duluth 81-73 to take home the title. The game was played at the Sanford Pentagon in Sioux Falls. They will move on to play at the national level at the NCAA Division II Championships. A standout NDSU basketball player is proving he's successful in the classroom as he is on the court. For a second consecutive season, NDSU graduate student Rocky Kreiser is selected to the COSIDA Academic All-District Team. Kreiser earned a 3.62 cumulative GPA while getting his bachelor's degree. He now holds a 4.0 GPA while working on his master's in health, nutrition, and exercise. He will move on to the national ballot for Academic All-America honors, which will be announced in mid-March. Kreiser is the 4th player in NDSU history with over 1,500 career points and 750 career rebounds. 2 brothers from MSU Moorhead are looking to bring a new varsity sport to MSUM to help bring scholarships and opportunities for students. Campus News reporter Abdullahi Hashim went to find out how far they are from reaching their goal.
With 15 varsity sports on campus, from volleyball and football to basketball and soccer, there is a club team that is trying to show that it deserves the recognition to make the step up to a full-time team.
Obviously, the goal is to turn it into a scholarship sort of thing where, you know, people are recruited to come and play for MSUM at an esports, you know, like a collegiate level.
The Rocket League team at MSUM joined the League of Legends team last year to make it a club so both teams could have Dragon team names. The Rocket League team has been competing against other schools with esports teams.
We're kind of building the the foundation of it. We're trying to get more and more people involved, and that's really going to propel us up, I think. The more people that are involved in it, the easier it will be, because they're going to see that we're active and we're trying to create something that is a real program.
It is not just Matthew who is pushing for scholarships. His brother, Bradley Stewart, is a senior at MSUM, and even though he won't see the fruits of his labor, he is still pushing for an esports program.
Goal which I've seen a number of colleges do, all over the nation, where they have a specific building, just dedicated to, like NEMSIC is for sports, another building just for esports.
Talking with the 2 brothers, they told me how having more students join is the biggest way to make a push for the esports club, to move from being a club to a team that plays at the highest level.
That people are going to use, that people enjoy using, something that brings people together, a community kind of feel to it.
With the foundation the 2 brothers are building, they hope that it will be the building blocks for more potential gamers to come to MSUM and get scholarships. With photographer Gloria Ngoma, Abdullah Hashim, Campus News.
The brothers are now one step closer to their goal with the addition of the new esports room in the MSUM Wellness Center last spring. They have a lot of cool computers and chairs inside that room.
Sounds like a fun time.
Thank you, Jordan. Food, dancing, and live performances. Asian American students here in Fargo share their annual holiday at NDSU.
Reporter Gracie Jackson tells us how 3 students planned a night dedicated to celebrating their culture.
3 students from NDSU rang in the Lunar New Year by inviting other students and members of the community to celebrate with them.
Events are the easiest way, I think, to get to meet
people that are from your own culture, but also outside of your culture.
Shayna Karuman, Hannah Floor, and Panara Kim put the celebration together in just 3 weeks.
About 3 weeks.
Embarrassing or impressive depending on how you look at it.
Despite the short notice, these students were able to line up a number of exciting performances, including a traditional Chinese cord dance, and a performance by the NDSU dance team that had everyone grooving along. They even managed to feed all the guests thanks to catering from Shanghai Chinese restaurant.
This is the chili sauce.
Even though this event happened on campus, the students aren't part of any organization.
We think that's something powerful about individuals, is that it doesn't necessarily take an organization or institution in order to make a difference.
They did, however, have some student volunteers on hand to help out.
I do think this is a very important event because compared to other ethnic group, and then there's not as many groups out there for Asians to be together.
I think it accomplished what we wanted and more. Like, I was not expecting this big of a turnout.
This may have been NDSU's first Lunar New Year celebration, but these students are sure it will not be the last. With photographer Tyler Frame, Gracie Jackson, Campus News.
The Lunar New Year changes every year depending on the cycle of the moon.
And that's it for this edition of Campus News.
We leave you with more from the ice percussion performance.
Thanks for joining us and have a great week.
Campus News is produced by the Television News Workshop in the School of Communication and Journalism at Minnesota State University Moorhead in cooperation with Prairie Public Television.